Welcome to Trailblaze. I'm Nayyera.
And I'm Jamal Simmons. Welcome to Trailblaze, the place where we talk about the America we're becoming and the people, the politics, and the ideas that are making it happen. I'm excited to be here with my wonderful friend and our co-host, Nayyera.
Jamal, I really want to talk to you about tonight's debate and what we saw because it looked like what we have seen a bajillion times over, right? Two white men debating, talking about ideas and whether or not they or the person they work for deserve to have power in America. But there is something about this debate that felt different. I mean, granted, it was coherent, it was policy focused, but there's more to this idea of who these two white dudes are and what they were trying to say today. Anything in particular stick out to you?
Well, what's funny is as we think about it, it's only interesting that there are these two dudes there because we just haven't seen this in 8 years, right? Because Joe Biden had Kamala Harris as the VP nominee, and then now Kamala Harris, of course, is the presidential nominee. So we're back to, at least on the vice presidential stage, we're back to something that we've seen every time for the last 200 and almost 50 years. So so that is really kind of the subtext or the background to where it is we are. Listen, I was watching this thing and I was just thinking about this whole conversation that we're having right now as I was watching it, because there's so many parts about what we saw tonight. I'd love to get your feedback and your ideas about what you saw tonight. To me, I thought it was, like you said, it was policy oriented. But it also was a little bit scary in a way because JD Vance had this weird way of smoothing out these really radical ideas that it is that he's
Yep.
offering for how he wants to change
It
America.
just and it was
It's
very
weird to me.
the delivery, right? The delivery was very polished in a way that Trump has never delivered in that polished a way. So you can talk about Trump being a chaos agent, being fickle. That's something Governor Walz said, but that same descriptor didn't apply to JD Vance's presentation today. I was also surprised by the visual of how the mentions of JD, I'm 40, and hey Tim, not calling him governor, but hey, I'm 40. I'm like, oh yeah, there's an age gap here, and actually, we're going to be stuck with JD Vance a whole lot longer in American politics than we
I know
are
somebody
with Tim
texted me and
Walz's generation.
they said they were like, are we watching the launch of the JD Vance 2028 campaign right now? Because that's what it feels like. This isn't even about Donald Trump anymore. It's just about
Mm-hmm.
JD Vance.
He
And
did,
yeah,
right?
why were they were super chummy. I thought the whole thing was very chummy between the two of them.
I kind of would have liked a little bit more of that sense of urgency and kind of crisis we're dealing with. This did, again, it reminded me very much of the debates of yore. Okay, here's some things I believe, here's something you believe, and we're just going to say these things. But I in terms of the dudeness of the thing, they really started off obviously with the news of the day, Iran's retaliatory strikes on Israel, potential civilian targets, all of this Middle East war conflict, but they brought into this energy of what they each thought being strong on the world stage looks like. And JD Vance is, the me and Trump, we think that you just have to strike when it's hot, and if people are scared of you, they will not. Nothing happened in Trump's watch, which is not true. And then you had Walz, it's like, well, actually, we should have agreements and we should work and talk to each other, and we work in a coalition, which to me sounds like community, right? That's the argument, and they're very different visions of what being strong looks like.
Although, can we just say it? Can we just say it out loud? Governor Walz maybe didn't have the strongest open, right? He had a couple. It was a little choppy in the beginning. I think he got better. Thank you for laughing, because I thought I was gonna say this and you were gonna be like, Jamal, like, what are you saying?
I'm
Governor
the one
Walz
who
was
already
great.
pulled the age card. I said it.
Yes, it wasn't the strongest open. Listen, there were two things that I thought were incredibly interesting. The first one was, I just can't help but roll my eyes whenever the people today start talking about gun violence. And God bless Governor Walz and his child for having witnessed a gun crime. I do think it's a horrible thing. You know why I know it's a horrible thing? Because I witnessed them, right? Like, I'm
Them
sitting here.
plural, multiples.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I had guns pulled on me 2 times before I graduated from high school in Detroit. And I saw a guy shot in a drive-by shooting when I was 17, like outside of a party, right? A guy was shot like a few cars away from me. And I think while that happened to me, it was the only time it happened to me where I actually saw somebody shot. It wasn't an abnormal thing at one point in American cities. Black kids in American cities saw people shot or in shootings and saw these things all the time. But you know what? Nobody cared when it was just happening to us. But when it started happening in the suburbs, it became a national crisis.
Black on black crime.
Yeah, but then it becomes this national crisis. Yeah. So it needs to be a national crisis. I'm glad we're all talking about it. It needs to be something to deal with.
And let's do all the caveats. It is a horrible thing that we're raising children in an environment where there are guns rampant in school. But let's be clear, it's the suburban gun violence shootings and the access there that suddenly has made this be a crisis.
There are black kids and brown kids and poor kids all over America who are having gun crimes happen around them every single day. And we're not having, sadly, like the same kind of angst about that. And
it's actually on the right. It ends up being a very dismissive, this is what's wrong with cities. And you just frankly need to box them off and separate them and let them fall into their own purge. Donald Trump literally the other day called for the purge based on, this movie where you
did
24
you
hours.
caught the same reference. Yes.
It's like, I've watched all the movies, but he actively said, we just need a couple of hours of just, free for all violence and let people kill each other.
Like, what is he talking about? What is this guy talking about? He wants to be the leader of the country.
So the delivery is not so wacky, but to me, there were the 2 points. And I think you're not going to be surprised that I picked up on a lot of the abortion healthcare discussion.
That was Waltz's best. This is a decathlon. That was Waltz's best event. Yes. He did his best on those answers.
And on the gun one, he said at some point it's about the guns. Yeah. And JD Vance trying to blame gun running from Mexico, that it's all cartels. I'm sorry, you cannot blame everything on illegal migrants or, from the global South when these are American manufactured guns that get sold down there and then run back by cartels. Like we are part of the root cause problem here. But back to the abortion rights challenge and answer, JD Vance gave another very polished delivery on the story of the person he knew who had to bear a child she didn't want, and we should do more to help women in these circumstances. They can afford to. All of this is great family-friendly rhetoric, except for the fact that he's voted against it every single time. Voted against a child tax credit, voted against IVF expansion, voted against school lunches. Had said that universal childcare is about America devolving, and it's you shouldn't be doing that for poor people. I mean, just all of this really dystopian stuff that he says on the regular online to a group of dude bros and crypto bros that he did not say on the mainstream, America mom and pop stage today.
But here's what he did say. I don't know if you caught this. I caught it, and it just picked me up, and it's related to a conversation we had earlier today as we were preparing for the show. He started talking about childcare, and he started talking about his wife, who is this wonderful woman. She's a great corporate lawyer, but it's such a struggle for her as a working mom to be both a working mom and to manage childcare. And we've got to help these moms. Now, we do have to help the moms. The moms need a lot of help, but you know what? Why is it that the moms are the only ones dealing with childcare? His wife is a working mom. He's a working dad. He did not say, for us as a couple, for me as a United States senator and my wife who's a corporate lawyer, we're trying to figure this out. That was not the context.
You could reach me and connect with me as a working mom of 2 children in the suburbs if you talk about your struggle with working and childcare, whether you're a man or a woman. But don't be the guy who then says, oh, I feel so bad for my wife. And mind you, I have had ostensibly liberal or progressive dudes sitting around at a party and be like, I don't know how my wife does the schedule thing. Like, it's crazy. I could never do that. I'm like, your strategic incompetence, unacceptable. But he embodied that. And it's part of a whole thing in which he probably has not processing that childcare is not so women can go to work. Childcare is so everyone can do this.
Yes.
Right? So dads can go to work as well.
And again, I'm not taking anything away from working moms. Working moms are America's heroes. This is like a thing.
He just needs to think of himself as a working dad and not just the provider dude.
Just we're all in the pot together. I mean, in modern America, we're all in the pot together. We're all trying to figure it out. And frankly, it sucks a lot of time for all of us
It's really
too.
hard.
It's really
It's
hard.
really hard. The thing I think would surprise you that really caught my ear was how he talked about climate change. And here's why. Yes, in one part of my government life, I was a climate change nerd. And I remember telling scientists, please stop saying that 98% of climate science says that carbon and human development is why global warming and weather patterns are changing, right? Stop, because everyone's like, what happened to the 2%? What you need to tell people is the science is more sure and accurate than tobacco causing cancer, right? Like
Yes.
make it right. Stop giving me the accurate, help people understand the feeling. And what he did, what JD Vance said, he said, if you believe, if you believe that carbon causes weather pattern change and like or that the problem is carbon, if you believe, then you should be investing in American energy, which is natural gas and fossil fuels.
There is a greater
The premise is already
yes.
a problem. If you believe, this whole question was premised on what happened in Appalachia. These are your people. How do you think these crazy weather patterns are happening? Is this just God's will? Like, is that where we're at right now?
There's a greater chance there are aliens that are coming from outer space than that climate change is not
Yes.
real.
Thank you.
Right?
I like
Like
that one. I'm just going to roll
we
with that.
know.
I have no, I'm not interested in fact checking that one. I'm going to go with that.
I know. So this is great. Was there anything else you wanted to get to on the debate before
I mean,
we get to our first guest?
I could keep talking about climate change. So, but I think given what we're experiencing with weather patterns and all of this, I did like that Tim Walz brought it back to there is a way to prepare for this as communities. And, you know, I thought he came across actually really well spoken and thoughtful about what needs to happen right now. And then in that answer, he also brought out, you know, farms in Minnesota and we don't want to be exporting topsoil. I'm like, go, Tim, look at you being, I'm American farmer guy. It's just these archetypes of dudes that came out in so many different ways in this debate.